If you love the Raiders and you're looking for more free videos around the silver and black, first off, good morning to you. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on those notifications because if the Raiders do make a trade, if they sign a free agent, and if it's a big enough name, especially if it's one of the names that I mentioned here, good chance we're going live, and I don't want you to miss it. So hit that subscribe button, y'all. Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Reporter. Coming up here, we're going to get into some Nate Hobbs replacements, but I would not have been able to make today's show if it wasn't for our awesome sponsor, ButcherBox. And with the holiday season right around the corner, I like to think of just simpler sometimes is better. And I don't know if you've ever tried to find a turkey during the holidays. It can be really difficult. And if you get started by going to butcherbox.com/NFL Daily, we're going to hook you guys up with a 10 to 14 pound turkey for free on your very first order. Yes, it's down in the comments. It's in the description, butcherbox.com/NFL Daily. So what I figured I would give you guys today is a little bit of a roundabout look of what Nate Hobbs' injury means for the silver and black and how the Raiders, Josh McDaniels, Patrick Graham, this defense can look to try to replace a player like Hobbs. And I'm going to be very blunt with all of you. You're not going to find a replacement for Nate Hobbs because Nate Hobbs doesn't grow on trees. He was placed on the IR on Monday. He's going to miss at least the next 4 weeks with that broken hand. And when he came back out onto the field with that left hand, he had that giant club on. I will admit he was not as good, I guess, before then when he left against the Chiefs. Now, that could have just been the Chiefs. They're a totally different animal. Here's the thing, though. From what it sounds like, Hobbs wanted to try to play through this. He played through a torn labrum last season. He's a really tough player. He posted on Instagram that he's going to do everything in his power to try to stay out there on the field. To me, this sounds like a business decision. They know that Hobbs is one of the best young players that they have. And it's not so much just about this season, which I get it. We're 1-4. We got a lot of games that we have to win. But this is more of a long-term play with a player that you're hoping is not only on the team in 2022, 2023, you're hoping that he retires as a Raider because he's been that good. Now, I want you guys to show Hobbs a little bit of love here. I know he's probably frustrated that he can't go out there and battle it out with his brother. So show Hobbs some love down in the comments. Spam his number 39. I want to get 1,000 39s, 2,000 39s because that young man deserves it. So here are your options for McDaniels and Dave Ziegler to try to replace Nate Hobbs. To me, you got three options. The first option is somebody just steps up. Somebody on this Raiders team, whether it be a cornerback, whether it be a safety, somebody has to step up. The issue is the Raiders are a little bit thin right now at the cornerback spot because Nate Hobbs is on IR. You also got Anthony Averett, who's currently chilling on IR. Hopefully, though, he can return this week. And everything that I have heard and I understand is actually one of the reasons why the Raiders were comfortable moving Hobbs to IR is because they were confident that Averett was going to be able to practice this week, and hopefully he can lace up the cleats when you take on the Houston Texans in Week 7. Rock Ya-Sin's battled a few injuries, but him and Amik Robertson have done an okay job. I think the name that you really got to consider is the UDFA prospect, Sam Webb. When he's needed to step up, Webb's played pretty well, honestly. Like, that's what you need. You need Averett, Robertson, Rock Ya-Sin, and Sam Webb. I also think, though, because of Nate Hobbs' flexibility and his ability to play almost every position, you need your secondary to step up, too. So, Deron Harmon, I'm looking at you. Trevon Merrick, I'm going to look at you. There's already been some trade rumors around Jonathan Abram, and if you watch our live show tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific, I'm going to talk about Jonathan Abram trade rumors from Jeremy Fowler. We're going to talk about a lot of different things. But you know what? When Nate Hobbs goes down, your defense needs to step up, every single one in. I probably could have put the linebackers in this unit as well. Here's the next thing that you could potentially do. You could trade for a cornerback. The NFL trade deadline is on November 1st, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. That's the time you have to make a deal. It's also the amount of time that you have to, ship away some of these other players. Now, I'm going to go into the three players that, to me, I would want the Raiders to trade for. Yeah, there's a lot of examples out there, but the three trade candidates I'm going to give to you are players that I know, for one, are on the block and could actually help out this team. Before I get to those three names, again, high-quality meat. Shout out to today's sponsor, butcherbox.com/NFL Daily. To me, the holidays are about spending time with my family, and I don't want to have to spend that time going through a grocery store looking for a turkey. And let's face it, think about what you eat during the holidays. I know for me with Thanksgiving, I'm going to chow down on a giant turkey. And listen to this awesome deal that we got going on. The main course for Thanksgiving dinner can sometimes be a main source of stress. Not anymore. ButcherBox is offering our listeners free turkey with their first order. Sign up today at butcherbox.com/NFL Daily and use code NFL Daily to get one 10 to 14 pound turkey for free in your first box. That's butcherbox.com/NFL Daily and use code NFL Daily to claim this deal. Now, for whatever reason, if you weren't paying attention, I'm going to be nice enough, Jeremy Chuggs is going to be nice enough to put this link for you guys in the comments and in the description of today's video. Major shout out to ButcherBox for sponsoring the Raiders Report. All right, let's get in now to these three cornerbacks that the Silver and Black could potentially target, and they're not really ranked in any particular order. However, the first player coming up here is the number one name I would love for the Raiders to make a deal for. There's been a player that I've talked about multiple times on the Raiders Report 2 years ago. Now, the old connections why we used to talk about him is because he was a Bengals player, and every time a Bengals defensive player with Paul Gunther, there was always an NFL connection, and somehow we'd squish it together here on the Raiders Report. William Jackson, though, he went to the Washington Commanders. He's been unhappy. He's already said that he wants the heck out of there, and I think it's simply because they're not using him the right way. Simple as that. If Jackson were to come over to this defense, you're hoping that the Raiders would be able to use him a little bit more in terms of man coverage. Here's the thing. He would still be one of the best cornerbacks on this team. Like, I love Rock Ya-Sin, but a healthy William Jackson is a better cornerback than Rock Ya-Sin, and y'all know how much I like Rock. Let's go to the next name here to keep in mind in terms of a trade candidate. It's Sidney Jones, and when I watch a player like Tariq Woolen run all over the football field, I remember the days back at the NFL draft when we were talking about players who could absolutely break out. People are like, Tariq's never going to be anything. Tariq Woolen, I think, is a big-time reason why a guy like Sidney Jones is not really getting a lot of playing time. He's a good player, and if you need to be able to put him in a pinch for the next 4 weeks in must-win situations, I'm okay with it. You could also have him because you're going to be playing the Seattle Seahawks in a few weeks, I believe like 6 weeks from now. Sidney Jones, not getting a lot of play time. I don't think it would cost a lot either, someone to keep in mind. Another player that, this is one of these players that I loved when he came out of college, C.J. Henderson. And I always go with the expression, I don't know if I can trust Ohio State quarterbacks because, yeah, you shouldn't judge the helmet, but Ohio State cornerbacks really haven't done well. Well, one of the biggest reasons why I say Florida cornerbacks don't really pan out is because time and time again, you get a player who's drafted in the first round. He was drafted number 9 overall by the Jacksonville Jaguars, gets shipped off here to the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers right now might be the biggest shit show in the NFL, and they're just shipping players left and right. They just traded away Robbie Anderson. So if you think that you could get a young, and he is an athletic player, I don't really think many people would dispute that with Henderson. And if you can get somebody young and cheap to help fill in the void for the next few weeks, I think you got to keep it in mind. So here were my top 3 trade candidates that I would love for the Raiders to pick up the phone, give them a call, and say, hey, do you want to join the Silver and Black? So out of these 3 names, who would you pick? Would you pick William Jackson, type WJ, C.J. Henderson, CJ, Sidney Jones, SJ? I guess if you're looking for any kind of J, the Raiders Report's the right spot today. If you don't want any of these players, give me another name, type O. But hey, let me know who you think the Raiders should trade for. Let's now go to the next option that this team has if you want to try to replace Hobbs. It's going in free agency. It's signing a free agent. And there are still talented names out there that you could help bolster this Patrick Graham defense, especially in that secondary. Now, the first name I'm going to bring up here is someone who has more of a connection with our coaching staff in terms of Josh McDaniels. He's actually also played on some similar schemes. It's Malcolm Butler. Malcolm Butler was already on the New England Patriots, and then he ended up getting released. He's already retired once. To me, Butler is just the name to keep in mind if you needed a simple plug-and-play option over the next 4 weeks. You could also see the Raiders promote some of these guys on the practice squad. Maybe like a Nicole Roby-Coleman. I'd be on board for that as well. What about this guy, Janoris Jackrabbit Jenkins, or now, I believe his name is actually legally changed to Jackrabbit Jenkins. I know that he put something out on social media, I'm going to say like a month ago, but he tweeted at the Tennessee Titans, and it was essentially like, hey, 1-year deal, $3 million fully guaranteed is what I would accept. Jenkins has played in Patrick Graham's systems in the past. I know a lot of the coaches, they liked Janoris. Same thing. You need a four-week stint here, If he can fill in because he knows the defense, it would be an easy plug and play. Here's another name that this is actually a very intriguing name to me. It's Deandre Baker. Now, when you think about Patrick Graham, remember, with the New York Giants, Deandre Baker was a first-round pick for the Giants. I believe it was like number 30, 31 overall out of Georgia. And there's already been reports out there that Graham and company really like Baker, and there was a chance, I thought, a few weeks ago that they could have potentially signed him. He has a run with the Kansas City Chiefs, so you can get a little bit of an inside track on one of the biggest rivals, if not your biggest rival in your division. So Deandre Baker, because of the connections, he has the talent. Here's the thing, though. Deandre Baker in Las Vegas makes me nervous. The final name here is a name that has played for the Raiders in the past. The only reason why I'm going to bring him up here, he is probably the least exciting name out of the free agency bunch. It's TJ Carrie. Friendly reminder that the Raiders brought him in already on a visit. So if you're bringing somebody in on a visit, there is a reason behind that. It's because you're interested. But hey, he didn't get signed. So maybe the Raiders are like, it's not the guy that I want. So let me know, y'all, before we wrap up today's show, I want you to name a free agent cornerback that you think that could help out this team to try to replace Hobbs. Again, you're not going to find somebody on the free agent market. You're probably not even really going to be able to trade for somebody as it stands right now to fully give you everything Nate Hobbs does from a coverage standpoint, from a physicality standpoint, from being a leader in that locker room. But you are a 1-4 football team. You have the money, top 3 in salary cap space right now. You can't just sit around. You got to do something. So I want to know, name a free agent corner you want the Raiders to sign. Now, before we wrap up today's show, major shout out to everyone yesterday who tuned in to our Monday Night Football Live with Jeremy Jugs and I. Shout out to Patrick B. Major shout out to Tri Vance, Savannah Jean, Steven Montanez. Buddy Bear was chilling with us there. We got the huge Thomas Frazier super chat. I mean, yesterday was an absolutely insane and incredible show. But you know what? I love rocking with you. I love hanging out with all you guys. And until our live show later today, which again is going to be starting at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific, if anything crazy happens around the team, I'll do my best to keep you guys updated on Twitter, on Instagram. So I'll see you all in a few hours. Much love, Nation. And make sure you spam 39 so that way Nate Hobbs heals up ASAP Rocky.